Whenever we're asked a question, our first duty is to appreciate the question. And this is not just some kind of modern, cool technique for making people feel good about themselves. We find this in Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly. The word in Sanskrit is pratipujya. It's there in Canto 1, Chapter 2 of Bhagavatam. Pratipujya. When Sutta Goswami was asked the question, pratipujya, he then returned the honor. Puj means to worship or to honor. Prati means back. To give the honor back is to appreciate the questioner. What does that signify? That the questioner, by asking the question, is honoring you. The reason we appreciate the question is because, and the person who asked the question, is because they are taking a risk. It's an act of courage to ask a question. On one level, just because people are often nervous to speak in a public assembly, but on another level, they're putting something about themselves out there for you to see. Maybe it's a doubt, maybe it's a confusion, maybe it's a desire. They're revealing that they've got curiosity, they've got doubt, they've got some feeling. And when someone takes something that's inside and puts it out there, they're taking a risk. The speaker could laugh at them. The speaker could, dismiss their question. The speaker could reject the idea behind it. You can do so many things when people offer something to you. And they know that because we've all had that experience. We've all had an experience of asking a question and feeling small because we did it. Because the speaker made it clear that, oh gosh, I had a teacher, as a college professor in my undergraduate years, a philosophy professor. I was in his class, third, fourth day, something like that, and a student raises his hand and says, "Professor, this might be a stupid question, but," and he says, wait. There is no such thing as stupid questions. There's only stupid people who ask those questions. That poor guy nearly choked. He couldn't get the rest of his question out. Not just that day, but for the rest of the semester. That's the risk a questioner takes, right? That's a perfect example of what not to do. He just slapped the guy verbally to the point where he wasn't able to participate anymore, right? When a questioner asks a question or provides a comment, they are taking a risk. And that risk has to be appreciated by the one who's responding. Second thing is, their question signifies that they have given you their attention. And attention is a gift. It's not something ever to be assumed. Every one of you here has the ability to walk away. And even if you can't walk away because it would be socially impolite, you have the ability to walk away mentally. You can leave this class mentally. And there's nothing I can do about it, right? The fact that you're here, actually here, is a gift. And that gift has to be appreciated by the speaker for what it is, because attention is never to be taken for granted. If we have children, we know this well, right? The fact that our children pay attention, that's a big deal. That's a gift, right? That's an accomplishment on their part and ours. And the same is true with adults. It's true with any audience. So it takes courage. The fact that they ask a question is a sign that they're giving us their attention, and that's a gift. And then thirdly, a question, especially a good question, draws the audience in for you. They are doing your work for you. If someone asks a good question, everyone's like, oh, really? Yeah, what's he going to say? right? It's a good question, and it pulls everyone in. And it signifies to others, hey, you should be paying attention because I'm paying attention, and that person is doing your work for you. In fact, so important is this, that you very rarely find in all of Vedic literature that anyone ever gives a class without being prompted by a question. It almost never happens. In the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's always student-driven learning. That's a catchphrase today. But you find this back thousands of years. In fact, so rare it is to find that a teacher launches into a speech without being prompted by the student, that when it does happen once in the Upanishads, Shankaracharya in his commentary feels the necessity to actually note it and explain why it happened. It's so unusual. It's always prompted by the student. Tell me more. Explain this. Now, as in Bhagavatam, we find this a lot. The story is just ending, and he says, well, it was interesting. Along the way, you mentioned that the Lord killed such and such person. Can you tell me more about that? And then he says, yes, thank you for your question. This is great. And then they go off into the next story, right? And it becomes a conversation. The conversation is so important that the Bhagavatam privileges the conversation stream over chronology. Bhagavatam is not a chronological sequence. It could be. If we were writing a history in a traditional, Introduction to American History textbook style, Bhagavatam would start at the beginning of creation and end at its end. But it doesn't. Why? Because the conversation, the pull of the listener, the questioner, is more important than the chronology. Because if that's not where they want to go, they're not going to come with you. Simple as that. If that's not where the audience wants to go, they're not going to come with you when you try to go there. And this is why it goes back to that point, that a lecture is a conversation. And if you get questions in the middle or at the end, whenever, then that's a gift that's meant to be appreciated. The audience is doing their work for you. Okay, so appreciate the question, I think. Or responding to questions is perfect. Okay, last thing.